They were already inside when I got home. My parents sat at the dining table like they belonged there. My sister leaned against the counter, arms crossed, relaxed. Smiles were in place, practiced and careful. Papers were spread out neatly, arranged the way people do when they want something to look official, inevitable. The late afternoon sun cut through the window, dust floating lazily in the air, and the room felt strangely calm. For a lie, this big dot. My mother didn't stand up. She didn't raise her voice. She simply slid a manila folder across the table toward me, the way someone might pass the salt. Her voice was gentle, almost apologetic, like she was explaining bad weather. "We have the house signed into my name," she said. "You're out by Friday." I remember noticing the dust motes more than her words. How they drifted. How quiet everything felt. I smiled, slow and polite. "You really think I'd let that happen?" All three of them laughed. Not nervous laughter, confident laughter. The kind reserved for someone you think you still control. To them, I was still the kid who needed permission to speak, to breathe, to exist. They left feeling victorious. 2 days later, they came back with movers. The truck rumbled into the driveway, loud and certain, like it owned the place. They stepped out first, already rehearsing explanations for the neighbors. Then they froze. Standing on the porch was me, holding a folder of my own. Beside me stood a man they didn't recognize. Older, calm, dressed in the kind of expensive that doesn't need to announce itself. I used to think betrayal was loud. Screaming matches, slamming doors, faces red with rage. I was wrong. Betrayal is quiet. It sounds like smiles held just a second too long. It looks like hands reaching for things they didn't earn. After my graduation, I moved back into my grandparents' house. Not because I needed to, because they asked me to. My grandmother's hands shook too much to open mail anymore. My grandfather forgot where he put his keys. But he never forgot a promise. This house wasn't just wood and nails. It was where I learned to read. Where my grandfather taught me that silence, used correctly, can be a weapon. Where my grandmother whispered, "Watch people when they think you're not." My parents started visiting more often after that. My sister too. They admired the house, the land, the potential. They never asked how my grandparents were doing. They asked what would happen after. The first crack came when my sister said something into her phone that she didn't think I heard. "She's not even family. She's just occupying it." Occupying. Like a squatter. Like I hadn't been there every night, managing medications, paying bills, holding hands while 2 lives slowly unraveled. They were already dividing everything in their minds. Then came the mail. Legal stationery. Real estate offices. Conversations that stopped when I entered the room. I didn't confront them. I listened. I learned. And one afternoon, when my grandfather was having a good day, clear-eyed and steady, I asked him one question. "Who do you want protecting this house when you can't?" He didn't hesitate. I didn't cry when I understood what my family was planning. I didn't scream. I didn't warn them. I adjusted. I met with an attorney recommended by a professor who owed me a favor. Quiet office. Thick walls. No loose ends. We created a trust. Boring. Boring. Irrevocable. The house. The land. The accounts. I became the trustee. My grandparents remained the beneficiaries. And when they passed, peacefully, months apart, the trust didn't dissolve. It hardened. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell my sister. I waited. Because people reveal everything when they think they've already won. When they confronted me, they believed they were being generous. Friday. Like an eviction notice wrapped in love. They had forged confidence, not signatures. They never understood the difference. When I smiled, they mistook it for denial. When I stayed quiet, they mistook it for fear. That's the danger of underestimating someone. You don't realize you've handed them time. Now, on the porch, my mother's smile collapsed slowly, like a building realizing it had no foundation. My sister's eyes locked onto the folder in my hands. My father finally asked the question, far too late. What's this? I let the lawyer answer. I wanted the words to come from someone they couldn't intimidate. He explained the trust, the timeline, the signatures, the notarization dates that predated their paperwork by months. He explained that the house was never theirs to sign over. He explained that attempting to do so was fraud. I watched my sister's face when that word landed. Fraud. My mother reached for my arm, then stopped, remembering I wasn't a child anymore. The movers shifted awkwardly behind them. No one laughed this time. They tried bargaining, then blaming, then crying. I stayed silent. Silence, used correctly, becomes a mirror. They saw themselves in it, greedy, cornered, exposed. Finally, my sister whispered, "You planned this." I met her eyes. "I prepared," I said. "There's a difference." The lawyer handed them copies. Calm, efficient, merciless. The movers left. The truck backed out of the driveway, taking their certainty with it. My parents didn't say goodbye. They didn't need to. That night, I walked through the house alone. The walls felt lighter, like they had been holding their breath. I sat in my grandmother's chair and opened the folder again. Not because I needed to, but because I wanted to remember what it felt like to choose patience over panic. Revenge doesn't have to be loud. It just has to be final. They thought love made me weak. They thought silence meant surrender. What they never understood was this. I didn't protect the house from them out of anger. I protected it because some things are inherited through care, not blood. And because justice, when done right, doesn't knock. It waits on the porch holding the folder.